everyone. I wanted to share a dream that I had back in December. I never actually made a video sharing the dream or explaining what happened, but I did write it down and I did share it on a few pages, like on my Facebook and on Telegram and a few things like that, the written version. But I do watch a lot of videos on this channel and watch a lot of people's rapture dreams and things like that, and I felt drawn to share my dream with the channel as well, so I decided to make this video so that I could share that dream. I do have it written out right here. Just because it's been so long, I figured I would just read it from what I wrote instead of trying to recite it off of memory so I don't mess anything up. So I will start by saying that this dream was kind of war related. A little bit different than some of the other dreams I've had before, and I feel like it's fitting with the things that are going on, that were going on then when I had the dream, and as well as going on now. Very well, these chains of events will at some point occur. So I will get started. So the dream started off with myself, my husband, and my 3 children. We were headed to a grocery store. Everything seemed normal, nothing out of the normal at the time when we were headed there. It was nighttime, and so when we arrived, we saw that the store was having some power issues. So the lights were like flickering on and off, so it was going kind of like what you'd see in a movie, where it would have like bouts of like crackling, lights going out and it being dark, like the scene in a movie or something. And so I thought that was weird, but we still just went into the store. We were very calm and didn't really think anything of it. So we went to the store to get the things that we were there to get. When we got inside, we noticed that there were a bunch of people and they were all panic buying things. So they were, running and grabbing all different kinds of things, filling their carts, just what people do when something bad is about to happen or has happened, a storm, whatever it is, and people panic buy. It was just like that, except for some reason, we did not understand why they were panicked. It was like we had no idea that something was about to happen or did happen. It was almost like we were completely blinded by anything occurring. So we were really calm. It did not seem like something was occurring to us, so we were not there in a panic. We didn't understand why everybody else was panicked. So after we get the things that we need at the grocery store, we go home, and my husband, I don't really recall why, but he left again. I think he was going to a gas station or something, and I don't know why, but he did leave. So I am at home with our children and our cats. We have several cats, and so we live in Missouri, but this dream did not seem like it took place in Missouri. It seemed like it took place in a much larger city than where I live, a big, well-known city, some type of city that has like a big downtown area. I don't really want to speculate, but it could be like a city, something like New York, or like a big city in like Las Vegas or San Diego or something like that. So not in a town that I currently live in, that's for sure, and a town that I have never personally lived in or seen in person, because I have lived in many, many states, but I have not seen this city before. It was very large, and I've never lived in New York. I've never been there. I've never lived in California. Never been there, but I have been to many states. So I'm not exactly sure where it was, but we were living in an apartment. And it was a rather large apartment building. So I know there's different versions of that, but we happened to be on the third floor of this apartment building, and we did have a balcony. So all of a sudden, and I'm in the kitchen preparing dinner, and all of a sudden we hear these really loud sirens, almost like tornado sirens. So again, I live in Missouri. We do have like tornado warning sirens. Now they're very similar to that sound, but it was a lot louder. But it sounded kind of like that. So sirens going off. And I went to the sliding glass door of the balcony to see kind of what was going on. And I could see this tower. So it was like a red and white striped kind of looking tower, almost like a lighthouse type of tower or something like that. Definitely not the towers in Missouri that do host the tornado warning. So it's completely different. Not to mention, it was literally in my view where I could see it. So that's not really something that I've ever seen before. I did do a Google search to see if there were any type of towers like that were warning towers or that had speakers on them. I didn't see anything like that. But again, I don't think that that's exactly how it would be anyways. I don't necessarily think that the tower is going to be an exact physical tower of exactly what I saw, but it was essentially a warning siren, and it was going off like something was wrong. So my children were asking me what that was because they had never heard anything like that, or it sounded like it was really serious. And we have heard like tornado sirens and things from the storm, and they are aware of what those are, but they were still very concerned, wondering what the commotion was because it was extremely loud and alarming. And I immediately said to my children, and all at this point we had no idea what was going on, just a siren going off, and my immediate thought and the words that I said to my children were, Jesus is coming. Now, I have had several dreams where I have proclaimed things like Jesus is coming in less serious events, and I do currently believe that Jesus is coming very, very soon. I do think that he we all know that the rapture is imminent, so I do keep lookout every single day, and I wouldn't be surprised any day, today, tomorrow, any day, as you should. And so proclaiming that is not out of the normal for me in dreams, but at the same time, I felt like it was a very immediate and accurate response, and I felt like in that moment that's like I just knew. I automatically just knew that was exactly what was happening. And if you remember at the beginning of the dream, people were in a panic, but we were all very calm. Like we had no idea, like just no sense of urgency for anything. Like it was just very calm. So then for me to just proclaim like it's Jesus, he's coming, and right off the bat, like it's like I just knew that that's what it was. I felt like that was very important. So right after I proclaimed Jesus is coming, that was all I said to my children when they asked what was going on. It was just, I proclaimed that that's what it was. At this point, I'm looking out the sliding glass window again, and I see like a missile shooting across the sky. And I could see a big downtown city in the distance. So like some sort of skyline. Again, like I was saying, like a big city, like New York, or a big city like, San Diego, Las Vegas, any of those places where it was a very, very large city. And it did look like America to me. So, but where it was, I will not say. I do not know for sure. But I did see a missile in the background, and it was shooting across the sky. And so I could see, like, out my apartment that there is a skyline of some sort, and I could see a large city in the distance. And so I see a missile going across, and it hits this city and blows up. And I was just, well, thinking that was crazy. And so I say out loud, oh my gosh, excuse me. I say, oh my gosh, a bomb, a missile. And suddenly, another one came shooting across and hitting the same exact city. So not one, but two missiles come towards that same city to hit it. And then, as this is occurring, I could see other neighbors on their like balconies, and they're watching and witnessing what is going on as well. And there were several neighbors that were on their balconies, I'm sure, just as curious as I was on what was going on. And I'm yelling across to them. So again, I know what's happening, and I'm yelling across to them, oh my gosh, Jesus is coming. So that's all that I said, but I'm yelling to them, and that's what I'm saying to them. So I am certain at this point that Jesus is coming. This is the end. This is it. And after that, my husband arrives back home, and we're both like freaked out by what we had seen, but we knew, both of us, we knew exactly what was happening and why it was happening. So we both together were immediately positive that Jesus was coming. Positive. We knew that was time the rapture was about to occur, and we were about to be caught up in the sky. We proclaimed it to our children, to ourselves, to our neighbors. We knew that he was coming, and this was the end. And then I woke up. So that dream was a little bit different than some of the dreams that I have had before. So I have had a few other dreams over the years, over many years. One dream, and just briefly, because this is the only dream that I actually wrote down. So I have had a few other dreams that I didn't write down, and I didn't really want to like share it in detail or anything, because I don't want to get anything wrong as far as memory goes, add to it, take away from it. But I do remember very little bits and pieces. So I would like to just mention a few of those details really quickly. And so close to around the time that I had this dream, I did have another dream after this, and it was like an alien deception type of dream. And the same thing. So, there were spaceships, and I knew it was an alien, but deception, not actual aliens. Like the government was trying to make us believe that there was going to be an alien deception. And same thing, I proclaimed Jesus is coming immediately to the people that were in the dream. So that was a more recent one as well. Now, I would like to go back farther. I had two rapture type dreams many, many years ago. And back then, I really wish I would have wrote them down so that I had more detail, but I didn't. And it was such a long time ago that I don't really remember the details anymore, unfortunately. And I've been praying for dreams, because I wish I remembered those dreams, because I haven't had a dream since then where I actually was physically caught up in the sky and got to feel that in a dream. And so I pray about it a lot, because I just want to be able to share my testimony with others and help them come to the Lord. And I feel like there's many different ways to share your testimony, and I have a lot of different testimonies, but I do, pray for dreams and stuff as well. So the dream that I had, this was in like 2012, so quite a while. And I was young. I was a teenager. So all I can remember of this dream is that I was on a beach. It was also, night-ish time, or definitely the sun had gone down mostly, and we were on a beach. I do remember there being a tsunami coming, and then I remember being caught up in the sky. And I do remember that I could physically feel being pulled up into the sky, and it was an amazing feeling. And I do remember obviously proclaiming that Jesus was coming and that Jesus was here, and I remember being so happy. And I remember my husband being there, and my son at the time, because at this time I had only had one child. And I know I mentioned that I was young. I got married very young. I got married when I was 18 years old, and had my first child very young. So, with my husband. And, so that was the only actual rapture dream that I had, where I was caught up in the sky. And I don't remember, the dream was much longer than that, but I do not remember any of the details of it. And then a few years later, I did have one additional dream, and it was after my grandma had passed away. And I just remember, the only things I remember of this dream were that I was in heaven, and I didn't see anything on the outside, so outdoors or anything. I was inside, and I was inside this very, very huge building, palace, mansion, church, if you will. It seemed like a very, like, if I had to describe it, it seemed like a massive church, and the doors were huge. It almost had like the feel of like a library, like very quiet but very beautiful. And I was only in this like main part of it, I guess. It was very open, and then the doors, there were plenty of them into other rooms, were massive, like huge doors, like tall as a building doors. They weren't like regular doors, and that opened up like French doors would, but they were not glass. And all I remember was that all these people were there for a feast. I do know that. I do remember that. And I don't really want to share much else of the little bits that I do remember. I don't want to get anything wrong or anything like that. But that is the few dreams that I have had. And I just really wanted to share them. I feel like they're important, and I feel like if they can help encourage anybody or bring them closer to the Lord, or if others want to compare their dreams with the dreams that I have had before, I just felt like it was important to share them. One last thing, I'm sorry I'm going on and on and on, but I did have one other thing occur, a testimony I have shared on like my Facebook pages. I have a few different Facebook pages where I share things, and on Telegram and things like that, and my own personal Facebook as well. But I would like to read this testimony of something that occurred, and this was several months back. Again, I haven't thought to share a video. I'm not really the type of person that records videos. I'm not a talkative person. I don't tend to talk to a lot of people. And I like to spread the word. Like, I like to write. So I like to write and type things and post scripture and talk that way. But physically talking, like on the phone, videos, in person, is not really my thing. So I hadn't thought to share it in this way, but I do have a testimony that I would like to share, and I am trying to find it really quickly. For some reason it's not showing up so that I can read it, but it is here, and I will probably cut out myself talking and pausing trying to find it this whole time. But here we go. So this happened on October 24th of this past year, so 2024. And I will just go ahead and read exactly what happened. So this is a confirmation that I had received from the Lord, and that's what I believe wholeheartedly. So it starts off by me saying, all day yesterday, my husband and I were talking about the trumpets before the rapture, after seeing a video about hearing a car horn, but then realized that it's Jesus blowing the horn instead. So it was this, like a funny type of video, where this guy was sitting on his couch and he starts to hear the trumpets, and at first he thinks, or like a horn, at first he thinks it's a car, but then it like gets louder and he's like jumps up off the couch because he realizes that it is Jesus and not a car horn. So we just thought the video was cute and funny. So we had been talking about that video and how awesome that will be. So we loved it. We loved the video. We thought it was awesome, and knowing that the day is very soon. So while praying last night before bed, I asked Jesus for confirmation that the rapture was in fact very soon, and I heard a long horn going off immediately after asking him this. So I was praying for a good amount of time, and I asked for confirmation of this. I really wanted confirmation to know that the rapture was really soon. I felt like it was really soon. I've had dreams and just all the events that are occurring. I knew that it was soon, and I just asked the Lord for confirmation. You can ask the Lord for confirmation. He will give it to you. You could ask him to reveal himself to you, and he will. He says he will. So I asked Jesus for confirmation that the rapture was in fact very soon, and I heard a long horn going immediately after asking him this. I was baffled. I turned over and asked my husband if he heard it also, as the horn continued on. Now, for a second, I was unsure if he could hear this horn too. I was just absolutely shocked that I was hearing this horn. It was crazy. And so I turned to my husband because I'm wondering, like, is this in my head? Am I the only one hearing this? Or do you also hear this? And he did in fact hear the horn. And shortly thereafter, we realized it was a passing train nearby. I immediately told my husband how crazy that was, as I was just praying in that exact moment for confirmation of the rapture being close. Now, we do have train tracks close by, but they almost never have their horn going. I have rarely, and I mean rarely, heard the horn going from the train. And not only have I rarely heard it, and I mean like a couple times ever, it was a different sound. Their horn just sounded different. It wasn't that loud. It wasn't that rhythmic. It wasn't that long. None of it. So, I just thought that it was absolutely crazy, and there's just no way it could be a coincidence that in the exact moment that I am praying to the Lord for confirmation of the rapture, after talking about hearing the horns before the rapture, that in that exact moment that there would be a train passing by blowing its horn. There's just no possible way. There's no other way for that to occur other than the Lord giving me confirmation. I fully believe that. There's just no way. So I knew that this message was from God, and I know that Jesus is coming very soon. I 100% believe that was a confirmation, And I really wanted to share that testimony with you as well, because it was pretty amazing. And I sit here and I watch these videos most days, seeing, people's dreams. I'm very interested in seeing them. Um, and waiting for the Lord. And if I could help anybody out, and if recording this video had other people see it more, and it could plant seeds in some way, then I wanted to do it.